All right, what's up, people? What up, what up, what up? Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Let's get some people on here. Today's January 24th, 2026, of course. We are well into the first month of the year. I hope everybody's having a great first month, about a third of the way through Q1 of 2026. All right. Today, we're going to be talking not about a specific deal, but today I thought it'd be awesome and extremely helpful, in my opinion, that we talk about different lead types. Okay, this is probably some of the most powerful, detailed information that you can learn from, and is very important in the real estate space. Again, I don't care. Largely, we teach reverse flipping here, right? Which is going after dead leads and nobody else wants to go after, converting them by fixing problems that nobody can fix, and then making money. However, I don't care if you are a wholesaler, a fix and flipper, a sub-tour, etc., a creative finance guy. It doesn't really matter to me. Wholesalers, though, are going to get a lot, and I mean a lot of value out of this one, all right? Or at least I hope so, all right? I've taught this to some of my best coaching students, and in their words, this is their favorite topic to learn about because it makes you understand who to go after, all right? So we're going to talk about what different lead types there are. Not every single one, because there's like 50 different lead types. And by lead type, I mean, for example, tax delinquency. Okay, just simple tax delinquency, which is one of my favorite lists. We're going to talk about the list types, right, or the lead type, and then we're going to talk about the differences. You know, what the difference is between, for example, a tax delinquency versus a pre-foreclosure, right? Very, very different. We're going to talk about the different types of motivation: financial, conditional, right, situational, circumstantial, that kind of stuff, and really just the simple logic and common sense of, okay, who should I go after? There's no right or wrong, by the way. I get that question all the time. There's a lot of people that ask me, Will, what's the best list for me to go after? What's the best list for me to start at? Look, I'm a firm believer that there's no right answer to that question, right? There's really not. My best answer to that question is always consistency, right? The list that you're going to stay the most consistent with. What marketing channel is the best marketing channel? Will, the one that you're going to stay the most consistent with. All right. Bandit signs still work. Believe it or not. Cold calling still works. PPC works. PPL is not one of my favorites, but it works, right? If you do it in volume, if you do anything enough and you do it consistent enough and you follow up and you follow through, it's really hard to mess them up, guys, right? So there is no right list. There's no better than another list. Obviously, if we're talking about, for example, a high equity owner occupied list, just think about it logically. There's not a lot of motivation in that list. The owner has a ton of equity or owns the property outright. They live in the property, right? Because it's owner occ. If they don't have any other triggers like a squatter or a code violation or something like that, or divorce or something like that, what's the motivation of the seller to move? Again, unless that seller is going through something that is situational, like same seller, high equity, owner occ, loses their job. Now they have a reason. They have a reason to move, to downsize, to save money, to move somewhere else. They have to move. What if they're relocated for work? Boom. That's a situational kind of thing, right? What if they get sick? What if they're in the hospital? What if they get into an accident, right? Those are all situational things, not financial things, right? But a owner, stay on this example, just to use a owner occ high equity list is not going to be anywhere near as motivated as, for example, a 2-year plus tax delinquency property owner. No way. No way. Why? Because I know that if you're tax delinquent, number one, chances are your house is owned up free and clear. Okay, so if you're tax delinquent, there's a nugget for you. Doesn't have a mortgage 99% of the time. Secondly, if you are 2+ years, not just 1 year, because that's not really motivation on the tax delinquency list, but 2+ years, 3+ years, depending on the state that you're in, but Florida specific. If you haven't paid your property taxes in 2+, 3+ years, usually that is the last thing that you held out and you were paying. So that means that so many other things in your life went wrong. So many other things have been delinquent already. So that is a huge sign of distress. By the way, in Florida, after 3+ years, someone can apply for the tax deed, which means it can go to tax sale, tax deed auction, which obviously sucks. And those are the most motivated. So let's get started. And I'm going to pull up here. Can you guys see this? We're not really going to talk about follow-up, but this is one of my SOPs. We're going to talk about what makes a lead distress. Okay, we're going to go into this. And again, if you guys want, take a screenshot of this, whatever, write it down. I mean, it's going to be live and it's going to be posted, so you guys are going to have this. So financial distress, all right? Foreclosure of a lender, all right? Bankruptcy. A seller has had to file for bankruptcy. Those are great leads, by the way. Loss of employment. We just spoke about that, okay? Tax lien. Now, keep in mind, a tax lien is different from an IRS lien. A tax lien means property tax lien. An IRS lien is on the bottom there by itself. That's a federal tax lien. A judgment, meaning, hey, this person owes hospital bills, or hey, this person didn't pay back their car. Now they have a judgment against them. Hey, this person didn't pay American Express or, whatever, Bank of America credit card. Now they have a judgment against them, right? That's a judgment. Back taxes, right? Depending on what you're talking about, that could also mean property taxes, okay? So there's back taxes and then there's a tax lien. After a certain amount of time, they lien the property and they put a tax lien on it, okay? Child support issue. Look, I'm going to just tell you, if you're owing child support, you're crap. You should pay your child support. Come on, guys. And sometimes it's the woman. Sometimes it's the woman, believe it or not. I've seen it on both sides. Child support issues, by the way, are treated very, very seriously. So they're impossible, I would say, to get rid of. Okay, so you're gonna if you're assuming a property with a child support lien, just understand you're assuming to pay. Okay, can't afford payments. What that means is a foreclosure, right? They can't afford their payments. Foreclosure means, hey, these sellers are behind already on their payments. Can't afford their payments would mean, because there's different stages, would mean, hey, this person has a mortgage, they're still current, but now we're talking to them because they know that they're not going to be able to continue to afford the payments. So it's like proactive. They're going to get into some problems, so they'd rather sell it now. Needs cash ASAP. That's a general one. That can mean a lot of things, guys. That can mean for a lot of reasons, okay? But obviously needing cash now, that's some of the situations where maybe you want to give them an advance, right? Which is very common in reverse flip. We give them $1,000 up front, maybe $2,000, $3,000 up front. Obviously, we get all the docs signed and then the rest of the money on the back end. You'd be surprised how often you can get a deal done because you're willing to put some skin in the game up front. Obviously, I only advise you to do that if you've done all your homework, you've done all your due diligence, okay? By the way, guys, I have the comments open, so if you guys have comments or questions or whatever, let me know. Tenants not paying rent. This is a classic one. Classic tired landlord, right? Remember, landlords could either have a mortgage or not have a mortgage. You guys got to remember both of these, okay? Sometimes the landlord owns the property free and clear. A lot less motivation if their tenant stops paying, right? Because they don't have a mortgage. If a tenant stops paying rent and the landlord had a mortgage on it, it's no bueno. No bueno, because now they're going to start to either A, have to pay the mortgage themselves, the landlord, so they might not afford, right? Might not be able to afford. Usually landlords are like a one mom and pop kind of thing, right? 1 or 2 rentals. Or B, they're going to start to miss payments because they're using the tenant's money, their rent that they pay every month to pay off their mortgage, and hopefully there's something extra that's called cash flow, okay? And a bad partner. Bad partner, I'm going to just put them both together, but a bad partner can mean a bad life partner, like a spouse. or a bad partner, like a business partner, right? There's tons of properties I bought over the years where, two partners owned a bunch of property. Maybe now they're getting divorced, business divorce, and they're splitting up, and now they got to liquidate some assets. Okay, maybe they're in litigation. Shit, that happened to me personally with my own rentals when I went through my first business divorce. I can tell you, it was not a lot of fun. Okay, so physical distress. The property's boarded up. So now we're moving from financial distress. Okay, these are triggers. These are indicators that you could literally make list on, filter, right? These are very easy to pull lists from. Now we're moving to physical distress, meaning if you're looking at the property, what is wrong with the property physically? This is going to be largely if you're driving for dollars, right? Or if you have a Google image. Also, you can look at this as, hey, if you're doing like outbound marketing, right? Or inbound marketing, doesn't matter. But a lead comes into your CRM, you should automatically have your reps or whoever's doing it, however your business is set up, yourself, if you're a one-man band, or like a VA or whatever, but directly ported into your CRM should be like a Google image of the house. Because if a seller calls in and they were on a pre-foreclosure list and all of a sudden the picture of that house pops up and that property looks like shit, like it looks like it needs work, that lead is going to go do, 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 and it's going to rank higher for me automatically, okay? So examples of this: properties boarded up, okay, the windows and doors and stuff like that. Code violations exist, open, expired permits. Fire damage, of course, is a classic one. I mean, damn, fire damage. There's different types of fire damage. There's a total loss fire damage, or there's smoke damage, right? There's a light fire, right? Sometimes fire damage homes, and this is a biggie, sometimes fire damage homes have violations attached to them because somebody's called the fire department, and now that sucks because now you got to get a structural engineering, stuff like that. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it was a small fire and the city never found out about it. That's easier. Trash rental, landlord, boom, tenant moves out, destroys their rental on the way out. That sucks, right? Maybe they don't want to turn the unit over. Maybe they don't want to do the repairs. Maybe they're tired of being a landlord. Maybe it's an inherited property that was a rental property, and now the heirs have a property that they have to do the work to, and they don't want to do it. Water damage, flood damage, storm damage, that kind of stuff. If you're in an area with basements, there could be a lot of water damage. Abandoned or vacant. Well, that's a good one, right? Meaning, hey, this property's been abandoned for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, I've seen them as long as 10 to 12 years. Those are obviously great because it tells me two things. One, it tells me, hey, nobody's cared about this property because it's been let go for so long. Two, it tells me this property needs some serious work. Probably has, if it's been vacant or abandoned for a long enough time, probably has liens and violations attached to it. It's just what it is, right? And then, of course, the classic one, property needs a ton of work. Hey, everything needs to be redone on this property. This house is a full gut job. That's a huge sign of physical distress, okay? Circumstantial distress, okay, /warm. What is circumstantial? Well, a circumstance is a divorce. Sellers in jail, transferred, like I've already kind of said. They got transferred, their job, right? Their family, they were relocated. Rental vacancy, they had to do an eviction, okay? Age, they're elderly. Some people would call this list, we used to call it an empty nester list. They're looking to downsize. Believe it or not, that's a list. An inheritance, that is a circumstantial. Out of all of these right here, two of my favorite, which I would consider them both the same, is an inheritance and probate. Those are my all-time favorite, stacked with tax delinquency, by the way. Those are my all-time favorite. Okay, the difference between an inheritance and a probate is that an inheritance is, hey, the person who owns it is deceased, but a probate hasn't been opened. A probate is, hey, a probate has been opened by the heirs. Make sense? Liquidation. I don't really run into this much. Death in the family. Well, again, kind of related to inheritance and probate. Want to downsize, usually related to age, elderly, or an empty nester. And then bad investment, bad partner. Hey, we bought a bad house, right? We couldn't get it done, couldn't get permits. We ran out of money. That's a classic one too, right? Fix and flipper got caught holding the bag, that kind of stuff, right? That happens all the time too, guys. Remember, just because somebody's an investor doesn't mean that they're a good investor. That's just a standard, all right? So look, we're going to talk now about the difference of how you should contact and how you should follow up between hot leads, cold leads, and warm leads, all right? Again, these are guidelines for me and my business. They've changed over time. But let's go into a hot lead, right? When a hot lead comes into the phone system, you need to set up an appointment right away. Right away. You hear that? Right away. It's non-negotiable, okay? And what that means is, we're going to talk about why it's hot, but what that means is that's either a phone appointment or a physical appointment, a belly-to-belly appointment. Nowadays, man, phone is the way to go. Virtual appointments count as well, okay? Below is a list of follow-up procedures. So initial contact should be made multiple times the first day until the contact is made if the call is missed. Now, here's the deal. I used to do a lot of direct mail. I love direct mail. If the call comes in live, you should always make every available effort to answer that call live. I don't care what time of day it is or night. I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how many deals I've gotten because I was there or my team was there ready to answer the phone. Because once they call you and you don't answer, guess what they're doing? They're calling someone else. They're calling someone else. Just like a PPC lead. When they submit their information, sell my house now, and they land on your freaking page first and they submit the form and you don't call within 5 minutes, 5 minutes should be the record, by the way. Boom. They're going to someone else. They're going to someone else because they're going to the top 1, 2, 3. Boom. Okay. Initial contact should consist of at least one text message from your cell phone and at least 2 calls with 1 voicemail on the first day. Okay. We have something called 10 days of hell where every single day for the first 10 days, if that seller has not answered, we are going to bombard them until they do. Okay. After 2 calls a day with a voicemail, that should be the entire week. After week 3 of no success, you can call once a week. For 2 more weeks, after week 5, no success, you can call once a month. Okay? Skip trace. If after 2 days, this is a good one, a hot lead goes silent, their phone stops working, we should order a skip trace. So you should go with a deeper skip trace and find other numbers and call them. If that doesn't work, the next step down should be door knock. If after 4 days, a hot lead goes silent, then you should door knock, okay? And leave a note or a brochure or whatever you want to call it, one of the door hangers. You can just leave a note. It works very well, by the way. After contact, rejected offer. If an offer gets rejected, we need to determine what the lead status is. So are they now warm, cold, right? Where do they go? From hot, warm, cold, where do they go? Okay? This will depend on how far we are in price. Obviously, if you're $100,000+ off in price, guys, that's no longer a hot lead. It's just not a hot lead. And if you're asking yourself, well, what's a hot lead? Somebody who literally calls or you get on the phone with and right off the bat, they're like, yeah, I want to sell. There's a discount, right? Like you can hear it. They have motivation and they're ready. They're showing or displaying signs that they're ready to go right now, meaning they're ready to make a decision. Also, the most logical, excuse me, the most logical, that they're also the person that can sign, meaning they're the person on title. That's very, very important. I don't want to assume here, all right? Are they really a hot lead, but will be motivated over time? If so, follow up weekly. Okay, look, some hot leads come in and then they're like, well, but I need a little bit of time to think about it. Not so much a hot lead. I would call that a warm lead, right? Okay, so let's keep going here. All right. Ooh, my bad. I did that. Hold on. Move my screen. I want to make sure you guys can see. All right, you guys can see, right? Great. So, warm lead. The first step should be to gather, review the info, and the next day call back the seller to give them a verbal range. That's called the dipstick method. Okay, not the dipshit method, the dipstick method. Okay, which means you are testing to see. You do not give an exact price. Like, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm going to be at $150,000. No. You want to test the range. If 150, for example, is where you want to be, you want to say something like this. Hey, Mr. Seller, houses like this, typically, we're paying anywhere from 120 to 160. That's a range. Now I'm testing to see There's a lot of sellers that might say, well, you know what, that's not bad. Well, now I got to figure out how far below 150, where it's where I want to be, can I get them? Okay. And if they say, oh, no, absolutely not, then we know they're above 160. So they're being a little bit unrealistic to where we need to be. But we could always work them down. Okay. And a great question to ask, by the way, this is like a great question to kind of break the ice. And you should ask this at least 3 times when you're on the phone with a seller. You say just like this. You say, hey, Mr. Seller, look, I understand that you might not have a price in mind, an exact price, but look, can you just give me what about a ballpark? Can you give me a range? Look, I promise I won't hold you to it, but just give me a range of where you'd want to be. Doesn't have to be exact, just a ballpark. I won't hold you to it. Then you be quiet. They might rebuttal back one time, be like, no, I really don't know. You start talking to them a little bit more, 5-10 minutes goes by, some rapport gets built, ask them again. You ask that 3 times on every single call, chances are you will get a response, and you'd be surprised how many sellers start off with, oh, I don't know, to they give you a number by the end of the call. All right. Our goal is to see how flexible they are on price and use that as a gauge of motivation. Again, guys, this is all a dance. And this works for wholesale and for reverse flipping either way, okay? So, again, here's the initial contact, right? Skip trace, door knock. This is for warm leads. Then you have cold leads, all right, or realtor referrals. We don't really refer out a lot of properties to realtors. Not anymore anyway. We usually they're just not going to work for us, all right? When a lead comes into the system and if they're fishing, looking to get a number above market value, you got to get off the phone as quickly as possible, all right? These people are wasting your time, all right? Because that's not the business that we're in. Remember, guys, too, 5% of the entire marketplace is usually what's going to sell at a discount at a wholesale, reverse flip, or a cash offer percentage. 5%. So if you're talking to 100 people, I'm telling you, realistically, 3 to 8 people are your people that are going to accept and actually going to be able to transact with, okay? So you have an offer letter, you have skip trace, you have door knock. When to mark a lead dead? Well, obviously, if the property's sold or gets foreclosed on, meaning now it's an REO, mark it dead, all right? And the owner is no longer interested in selling. Well, you know, there's 2 schools of thought on that. You can keep them in your CRM forever because people's minds change and just auto follow up, or you can mark them dead, okay? There's no potential to do business with the condition and the state of the house it's in, meaning it's too nice and they want too much money, or the owner wants more than the house is worth. That's it. As far as adding leads to the do not call list, look, I always recommend doing that. Just make sure that you keep yourself out of some trouble. So let's go take a look, guys, at some properties now, and let's build a quick list, and then we'll kind of wrap up. So I'm gonna go to, again, I'm just gonna go to Broward County, all right, just South Florida. All right, so this is the main Broward County. There's a ton of properties here, by the way. Here's all your insights: active listing, high equity, foreclosure, etc. Okay. So if I wanted to filter, boom, I could just filter for foreclosure. Now I'm gonna filter this down even further, all right? And I'm gonna say I don't want condos, I don't want townhomes, I don't want multis, I don't want 5 units or more. I only want single families foreclosure. Now if you go over here, you can add other triggers, other list types like we're talking about, right? So you could add all these. Some are gonna work better than others. If I was to click vacancy and foreclosure, this is only going to give me 68, which is not a lot, okay? Now, I'm going to go and I'm going to say that I don't want anything above $1 million, okay? I just don't want it. That not for the sake of what we're doing, all right? Property types, single family, great. Equity, now here's a good one. We're going to go for minimum 35%. See that drop down, all right? You could even filter down by loan type. I don't really need that, all right? You could add liens if you want. Let's just see what these types of properties look like. Listings, I only want off market. Well, that's not right. All right, so I only want off market. Now let's go see some results. Let's just go check out some results. All right. Here's a good one. Yeah, see? This property, what jumps out at you? The property looks old. It looks a little bit distressed. The roof looks old. The paint is old. The windows are old. The fascia, the boards, right? So the garage is like a freaking peach color. So right there, the distress that they're in foreclosure matches the physical distress. Remember I told you guys, always look up the Google Maps image? Well, that's what I mean. All right. So this is a very recent image. This is 2025. Look at that thing. For sure, something's going on here. I mean, for sure. You could just tell. In 2022, it looked better and now it looks worse. Okay. So again, just an example. Let's keep going down the list. Here's a good one. This sold in 2021. Nope. Let's go back. Stand by. Oh. Wait. Hold on. Let's go to the next page. Here we go. Here's a money shot. This is in a state of, and it's in pre-foreclosure. Your loans are right here. They took out a loan in 2016. They are in pre-foreclosure, and it's in a state of, how do I know that? Right here. Cunningham Erna A Estate, EST. That means somebody is deceased. Now, let me just go look at that property. And let's see what it looks like. Was it Lauderhill? No, Sunrise. Well, same thing. So 7878 right here, February 2020. Of course, the gardener had to park right there. So you can just tell that this house has some distress, all right? Just looks older. This one too, by the way. Now, I'm going to go, this is Broward County. So now I'm going to go check, and I would do this on the fly, by the way. Now I'm going to go check the Broward County property appraiser. So here's your property search. Here you go. So this is in a state of. The next thing I would do, guys, is I would look Erna Cunningham on the county website, your county website, wherever this would be, and I would see if there was a probate open. All right. So again, Cunningham Erna. Let me make sure I spelled that right. Cunningham. Beep, 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 boop, Cunningham Erna. Here we go. Nothing. I don't see anything here. Yeah, this is a good lead. Okay. You see there's no probate open and there's really nothing else that's happened here. Obviously she's deceased. So this is a really good lead to go after. Really, really good. I'm going to go check the property taxes now, and I'm going to see if she's property tax delinquent. Now, all her taxes are paid. So the next thing I'm going to check is who paid the bill. There are some counties that you can check that. South Florida has them. Nation Star Mortgage. So she does have a mortgage because the mortgage company is paying them. They're paying them in escrow. So now I know that there's a mortgage on them. All right. Probably a reverse mortgage. We don't know yet, though. It's a standalone. The debt was $176 back in 2016 for a 4% interest. There's definitely equity in this deal. Definitely. This is a 4.2, 2,000 square feet. You kidding me? That house is worth, yeah, exactly, north of $500,000. Easy. So she owes about $176. There's definitely equity in that deal. I would call this seller's heirs. That's a great lead. That's a great deal. Took me, 2 minutes to find that. You could even filter if you wanted to. You could come over here and you could filter potentially inherited, right? And again, it would be 20. There's definitely more than that. The count seems a little low for me. But either way, let's see here. Patricia Geiger. I don't know how to say that. 2006. Yup. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go check on the property appraiser. See what the heck is going on. Margate. Cool. Here she is. Patricia Geiger. And I'm going to check if she has tax delinquency. She shouldn't, considering that she has a mortgage. Bam, she does owe 1 year. So she's tax delinquent and she has a mortgage. Or actually, she doesn't have a mortgage, excuse me. So this is just an estate of, so it's a deceased owner and she's got a tax delinquency. Now, the tax delinquency is only 1 year, but again, I like it. I like the lead so far. So next move would be to call her. Let's keep looking. Let's see what else we got here. I'll do one more. This is a great area in Hollywood. There was a foreclosure judgment in 2010. Quick claim deed. Here it is. Buyer was honesty. Transact. What the hell is that? Okay, let's run this through the property appraiser. And let's see what's what. Look at this house, guys. Look at this house. Tells me everything. Remember how I told you that the conditional items are going to match the financial distress or situational distress? You can't make it up. I mean, it's like a science. It never, ever, ever fails. Here it is. Here they are. This is the house. House looks like crap. You can't even see the house from the outside, right? As a matter of fact, let's go look at the Google image of that house. Look at this house, guys. It's gotten worse. Literally cannot see that house. That's a great lead. Phenomenal lead. Phenomenal lead. It looks like they pick up scraps or something, whoever's living there. Yeah, look at that house. The house is in a jungle. Look at the tarp back there. See what I'm saying? Situational and distress definitely matches. We're going to check property taxes now to see where they're at and to see if they owe any taxes. Oh, this is a money. Oh, this is a great one. What? Hold up a second. I need to give the... You need to hit him with the air horn, dude. This is a phenomenal lead. As a matter of fact, I'm going to send this to my team. This is a great, great lead, guys. You got 1, 2, 3 years tax delinquency. This will be going to tax sale any day now. They owe $20,000. That seller is not getting out of this situation. I can assure you. That's a phenomenal lead. Bazinga. I'm glad we found that on the live. You can see it right here. And again, it took me 2 seconds to build that list and to see it. You could cold call this guy. You could door knock this guy. You could send this guy direct mail. This guy, this seller will 100% be selling. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. He's probably got code violations. He cannot get a mortgage. He cannot refi because his house is definitely not financeable based on the roof and all that stuff, so it won't pass a 4-point. It's in a great area of Hollywood all day long. This guy's sitting on, I would say, it's a 3-2. It's tiny, 900 square feet. The as-is of this house has got to be at least 250. At least 250. So you got a lot of room. You could give this guy $100,000 and still make $100,000+. You can give him 150 and still make 100. You can give him 200 and still make 50. So there's a lot of movement here, and he's got a lot of motivation, I can assure you. Okay, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I loved it. Thank you for joining us on Reverse Flip Deal Desk. All right, stay tuned for the next one. We're gonna be going live either tomorrow, which is Sunday, but for sure Monday. We're going live every day. That QR code right there takes you to, we're doing something new, which is pretty cool. Of course, you could always submit your leads and you can submit your deals. I'm doing a one-on-one with 5 people just like this, but privately. Imagine a private reverse flip deal desk. It's $9.97 for an hour. We're going to be going through anything you want. We can review leads live. We can review deals live, or ask me anything about your business. I'll basically whiteboard out your business and I'll show you exactly what you need to do to go into the right direction or make some money or make big pivots in your business. So guys, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate you. Enjoy your Saturday, and I'll see you on the next one.